Alright, so I meant to do this yesterday, but I had a lot going on yesterday, and I'll have more going on today, and I probably won't get the chance to do this unless it's really early in the morning. The Steam page for Battle Space, Frontiers Reach Battle Space, should be going up soon. I've already got builds ready to go. One of them has actually been deployed to Steam already. It's just not going to be publicly available yet. I'm trying to get everything into Next Fest. We'll see if that actually happens, though. Other than that, there's a new update out for the Frontiers Reach 2 Terrain Explorer. That is available to check out. It's in the Google Drive, where the other one is. I'll make sure I put a link in the description below. Still looking for paying work. Haven't had any luck pinning down contracts or anything like that. Really frustrating, but it is what it is. I imagine stuff will turn around here eventually. Yeah. February 14th, the publisher will be hosting, alongside one of their partners, will be hosting a virtual game expo called the Nova Game Expo. I'll put a link to that down below as well. Frontiers Reach will be there to include an early access, not early access necessarily, but an early web build of Battle Space, which looks quite different because it had to be put into WebGL, so I had to downgrade some things, but functionally it's the same. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of all the things that I need to get covered in this video. I was trying to basically leave Arkansas, or Arkansas, however you want to pronounce it. I was trying to leave Arkansas sometime this year, but the longer I stay here, the more I realize that my parents are just kind of, they're getting older, and there are things they can't really do on their own anymore. So I may end up staying here and biting the bullet and just sort of accepting the fact that I might have to help my parents out in the next few years. So I will probably, right now it's looking like that's going to become a reality, so I will probably end up getting into a more permanent setup here in Arkansas. Early, it's like 4:30 in the morning. Like I said, if I don't get this done early this morning, I probably won't get it done at all today. Trying to think. I haven't touched Frontiers Reach 1 in a minute. I took a lot of time off in January, partly to rest, and partly to kind of like focus on some other things, because I'd basically gotten to the point where I was just sick of working on Frontiers Reach 1. You may have heard me say it, or may have read one of the blog posts I've made, but Frontiers Reach 1 was never the game that I wanted to make. It was always considered a stepping stone project. So now that I've actually got the resources and have started spending a little bit of time here and there working on Frontiers Reach 2, I'm actually kind of finding it difficult to pull myself away from that project now and to go work on other things. But there's a lot of learning in the process of getting that whole project up and running, and it's going to take time before it's anywhere close to a build acceptable to put on Steam. Um, I treated Frontiers Reach 1 like basically 4 additional years of college. When you really think about like what's required for a master's degree in any field, you basically go to school or go to college where you're paying money to do professional career level work, sometimes beyond what some working career professionals actually do. So I treated like Frontier. I tried to treat Frontier working on Frontiers Reach 1 as if I was basically going for my master's degree. I do have a bachelor's, so I've got three. It was basically a 3-year program, so the typical 4 years of college for the bachelor's degree I did in 3 years, and that was paid for by my military benefits. So yeah, I still have college debt from that though, so like I didn't get it all free. Let's see here. So with Frontiers Reach 1 more or less out of the way, and I will be making small updates to it. I've already made some. I've got some changes that I've already made that haven't been deployed yet that will need to get deployed. I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer before I do that. Probably shooting for end of this month maybe, but I've got a lot going on this month, so I may not necessarily get to it. Biggest problem is that I've still got to find paying work. I still have to get Frontiers Reach Battle Space ready for deployment, because that's going to take priority here soon. And then on top of that, I also need to stay flexible for when the old folks need some help with something, and for when the publisher needs something. Like yesterday, they just out of the blue asked me for a trailer for Battle Space, so I had to slap together a trailer yesterday and then send that out to them. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to think through everything, because I don't really prepare anything for these studio level updates. I don't really have the time to do anything like that. I'm gonna edit this a little bit for like getting an intro put into the front of this thing. Into the front of this thing. I'm still working on increasing the quality of production assets that I will have for these updates. But as it stands right now, I just don't like. I'm a one person shop over here, more or less. I've got some people who I work with occasionally when I can actually get them to get anything done. One gentleman I work with, he's a good friend, but when it comes to actually getting him to do any work on game development stuff, well, it's taken, I think, probably 8 months now just to get a character out of him, which is frustrating, especially when I've offered to pay him. Yeah. But at the same time, this is a guy who, if I was in a pinch and needed a place to stay, I would be more than welcome at his home. He's got a lot going on too, so like he's got a kid he's taking care of, housing situation, He's basically moved between 3 different apartment complexes, 4 different apartment complexes in the last 4 years. So his housing situation is not what I would call stable. But he's always got room for me, which is nice. But at the same time, when I'm trying to do what I can to help us pull all of us out of the gutter. Well, I shouldn't say gutter. Pull out all of us out of this slump that we've been in. A place to live isn't enough. At some point, I'm gonna need people to actually just start working, and getting things done. $11 on the clock for the video so far. But yeah, so work progresses on lots of different things. One of the big updates from this weekend as far as Frontiers Reach 2 is concerned is that I was able to modify the character controller for the game such that it is now possible to ride creatures and it is possible to drive vehicles. These would be physics-based vehicles. I don't have fighters in yet, but I do imagine that it will not be very long until that happens. I'm still trying to finish out the artwork for First Fighter. I really want to get the First Fighter done before I start work on the rig for that, because that's going to be a custom solution where I'm going to try to take all of the stuff that I did for Frontiers Reach 1 and bring it over to Frontiers Reach 2, but I want to change how the mechanics work, because there were a lot of things that were done in Frontiers Reach 1 that were, I don't want to say half-assed, but I was learning a lot and learning how to set things up from a architectural standpoint, and that led to less focus on playability and more focus on what is the functional, the sort of function, do things functionally work the way that I expect them to work. And the result of that was that Frontiers Reach 1 plays a lot more like a simulator, and it's actually kind of funny because you always hear that saying, a game made for everyone is a game made for no one. Well, I basically made a game for no one because I was making what I wanted to make with Frontiers Reach 1. And a lot of the technology that I developed there will come over to FR2, but things are going to have to be streamlined, and a focus on gameplay enjoyability is going to have to be a big factor in that. Because one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to make the mistake that Destiny 2 has, where if you played Destiny 1 and you're playing Destiny 2 right now, you're essentially playing the same game that was released in 2014. They've not made a significant effort to branch out from the hallway looter shooter that Destiny is. And I can understand on some respects how the developers might feel compelled to stick to their guns on what they know and do it very, very well. But at the same time, I look at a game like Warframe, and what I see is 2 games one that decided to stick to doing what they know they can do and doing it as to the best of their ability. And they've had about a 10-year lifespan, and I'm looking at Warframe as well, and they're a studio that excuse me, they've not been afraid to branch out from what they know and to try and do that as well as they can. And not only do they not only have they had about the same lifespan, but they now have a large library of code that they can continue to refine and expand upon, and their original game is still doing well enough that it can probably outlast Destiny. And it's actually technically been live longer than Destiny has. So I look at Destiny and Warframe partly because when I was in college, those two games kind of, they took up quite a bit of my time. And I really enjoyed both of them for different reasons. I mean, I've actually been considering going back to Warframe and playing some Warframe again, just because Warframe, I think, does all of the things that Destiny developers wanted to do, but didn't have the confidence to do well enough. And looking at some of the original video that came out of the Destiny early development cycle for Destiny after they decided to just go ahead and move forward with sci-fi fantasy, the similarities between Destiny in its like alpha stage and early development stages and where Warframe is today is quite striking. So yeah, there's a lot of similarity between these two games, and yet they've still taken two completely different paths. So, and when it comes to the sort of RPG looter aspects of games, of those games, excuse me, and how I want to approach Frontiers Reach 2, I do want to kind of tie in some of those looter shooter aspects, but I also want to try and get away from the pitfalls of the power climb. But that's a whole other conversation for a later date. So yeah. But anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and kill it here. That's basically the update this week. I apologize for getting it out a little bit late. Yeah. So, till next time.